Hello everyone, glad to be back. This video gonna be second update for today. It's still 5th of July evening time, and I was planning to make update for Patreon because I was unable to upload video yesterday, and I decided to make this video not just for Patreon but also for YouTube and Rumble. I hope Patreon subscribers won't be uh, angry on me for this. And this video gonna be informal talk and news update mix kind of, and because we did come out this evening just for a walk right next to riverbank. I will try to show you some parts of the city also, city of Vladikavkaz, which is capital of North Ossetia Alania Autonomous Republic in Northern Caucasus region. Of course, majority of you do know that we are in this republic for summertime, and we used to live here for many years. So now we are kind of locals also. So I hope you will find this video interesting. And yes, that's been said, I will continue in some other part of the city, but right now let me just show you river itself. Patreon subscribers do know that we do like to walk around the riverbank in evenings when it's good weather, and today it's certainly is. And with this video you will have a little bit better understanding of what kind of extra content I do on Patreon. So this is, by the way, river, mountain river, name is Terek, which is crossing Vladikavkaz almost in middle. It does begins in Georgia, in Georgia's mountains, and then crossing border and going through North Ossetia Alania, including Vladikavkaz, and then moving in direction of east, and eventually this river will end up in Caspian Sea. So it's quite muddy still because of this heavy rain that was not stopping entire last month, almost on daily basis. But it will take just a week of good weather, and the river will become clean as a tap water, maybe even cleaner than that. So yes, I will continue in some other part of the city. I don't know if you can hear me because of this noise from the river, but that building there, it's observatory, local observatory, recently renovated, so residents of the city and the guests can go there and learn some additional information about astronomy. So when it comes to news, yet again, I hope you can hear me, because the river is really noisy. And when I did upload morning's update, first update for today, I did check straight away media outlets, and I did see that some Telegram channels were reporting about some success that Ukrainian forces did had, according to those Telegram channels, in direction of Klishchevka. That's the southern flank of the Artyomovsk or Bakhmut. But I did wait for a little bit. I was looking for additional news, and eventually main Russian Telegram channels, main Russian pages on the internet start reporting exactly the opposite. There was attempt from Ukrainian forces to capture Klishchevka, but Russian side did manage to hold on to their positions and repel a Ukrainian offensive. Although, according to some reports, Ukrainian forces did manage to establish control over the one height in vicinity of Klishchevka, but this settlement itself is under full Russian control as of now. So that was the main topic during the day, at least for a few hours before major Russian pages on internet and even media outlets did pay attention to this topic. And by the way, some well-known Russian military correspondents were mistaken initially, because they also did report that Klishchevka had become under Ukrainian control, but excuse me, but that news was wrong. Klishchevka is under full Russian control. So that's the first news. In some other place, I will continue with the news update. By the way, when it's nice weather, you can clearly see how close mountains really are to Vladikavkaz. And after all, it's Northern Caucasus region, and the tallest mountains here are about 5,000 meters. So right now, I hope you can, a phone can show well enough these mountains, and these ones are kind of little ones. These ones are kind of little ones, but still, it's a gorgeous view. So we are now closing into central part of Vladikavkaz. Quite a big river, not like Volga, of course, and Don, and even the Dnieper, but for mountain river, Terek is quite big, and definitely creates nice areas in the city where plenty of people are loving to have a walk. And probably you can see in this video that also this bank of the river is undergoing renovation, and in a couple of weeks time probably it will look even better than now. So when it comes to news, I did already spoke about Klishchevka. It's under Russian control. At least that's the latest news that we have. And next major news, of course, about Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, and statements that IAEA chief Rafael Grossi did made in Japan. I did share that video on my Telegram page, and basically he did confirm statements that was made by Russian officials that IAEA experts are on site, and they did not see any Russian activity in terms of the mining and putting some explosive materials on ZMPP area. So yet again, can we trust IAEA, Rafael Grossi, and IAEA experts that are present on the ground there? I have some doubts about it, but at least for now, Grossi still are able to say true. So all those statements that was made by Zelensky's regime are false. And of course, you know that yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, Zelensky did spoke about also ZMPP, and he said that Russian side did mine that power plant, which is false. And well, it's not Russian official. It's IAEA chief is confirming that Zelensky was saying, Zelensky was lying, simply. So that's, of course, second major news for a day. But yet again, today Peskov also did made comment about ZMPP and said that risk that some provocation will be done by Zelensky's regime in direction of Zaporozhye nuclear power plant is very high. And who can disagree with him, really? After so many statements from Kiev, and after deployment of a US plane, purposefully built plane in Eastern Europe, which supposed to check atmosphere for radioactive and biological and chemical pollution. After those moves, who can disagree with Peskov that risk of some provocation towards ZMPP is very high? But yet again, let's hope that these preventive statements, preventive measures that are taken by Russian side will be enough to stop any possible provocation from Zelensky regime and the Western masters of that regime towards ZMPP. Let's see. And some other news. And by the way, we are now in central part of the city. I'll show you now surroundings. So in video now you can see Sunni Mosque in central part of Vladikavkaz, and residents of the city are very proud of this mosque. It's a historic building, a very nice building, and fact that residents, even though North Ossetia, Alania, vast majority of society here is Christians, Orthodox Christians. Fact that residents are very proud of this mosque thus highlights how friendly, how multicultural and multi-ethnic this region really is. So it's a great. And by the way, you can also see here two hotels right next to each other. Two hotels right next to each other. One is Hilton, if I am not mistaken, and the second is Soviet era hotel, Vladikavkaz. I did spoke about this area just a few days ago for Patreon, when I was making update for Patreon, and well, I hope YouTube and Rumble community will also find this video interesting. And by the way, this hotel, Vladikavkaz, even though it did had some renovation, they still, they managed to kind of save old Soviet vibe inside. I never been inside that hotel, but that's what some people say. So it may have some retro vibe inside, which is also good stuff. And by the way, as I did spoke in today's morning's update, President of Russian Federation Putin was in Dagestan just a few days ago, and the main topic of discussion was development of infrastructure in the North Caucasus region, especially tourist infrastructure to maximize tourist flow in this region, because Caucasus region entirely and North Caucasus region also, since the time of Russian Empire, was treated in Russia as a jewel of crown, gem of the crown. It's a great region, and thus has immense potential when it comes to tourism. Not just tourism, but especially for tourism. And lately, last 5-10 years, internal tourism was growing very significantly, and North Ossetia Alania become one of the major destinations for internal tourists. And that's why this visit of Russian president in Dagestan, and decisions to heavily invest in tourist infrastructure of the region is very important. And I'm quite sure in 10-15 years time, entire region will change in a better way significantly, and North Ossetia Alania and Vladikavkaz city also. So now I will go to some other area of the city, and I will continue there. So by the way, let me show you this area here. We are in a central part of Vladikavkaz. It's quite big square or park in city center, very popular among local residents and the tourists. And before I continue with news, let me share a little bit of history of North Ossetia, recent history, how this republic became a part of Russia. So it happened in 1774, I believe. Ossetian families had a gathering, had a meeting, and they did decide to join Russian Empire, and they did send their representative to St. Petersburg, and decision was made by leadership of Russian Empire to receive Ossetian people and this land in empire. And since then, North Ossetia is part of Russia. It was part of Russia during the empire. It was part of Russian Soviet Federative Republic during the Soviet era, and it is part of Russian Federation now, since collapse of USSR. And yes, in Soviet Union and in Russian Federation, North Ossetia had autonomy. It's an autonomous republic. And Vladikavkaz itself, capital of North Ossetia, Alania, is very nice city. I do highly recommend to visit this republic and this city if you will have such a opportunity. And when it comes to Vladikavkaz, it's quite small but very nice. Very nice city. It's about 300,000 residents in the city. Probably a little bit more because, as I said, North Ossetia is very popular. It has a strategic geolocation, and city is very busy constantly. So it's not just local residents; it's thousands of tourists and other people that are, doing business and stuff. So probably on any one day in Vladikavkaz, some 400,000 or maybe even 500,000 people are living. But yet again, that's not that relevant, really. It's nice city. And let me continue with news. I did spoke about Klishevka. I did spoke about ZMPP, and I have few more news that hopefully you will find interesting. And among them, publication in French media lately, since last riots or uprising, we can call it however we like. Some media outlets in France beginning to write about or pay attention to possibility that weapons that NATO member states are delivering to Zelensky's regime eventually may end up in Europe. And well, Moscow did warn about it, isn't it, for a long time. And it's not just possible, that probably it's at this stage inevitable that weapons from Ukraine will end up in Europe in hands of different type of criminals, extremists, terrorists, and so on. I mean, you name it. And of course, if French media outlets are now realizing risks and are paying attention to this topic, it's good, but same time it's already too late, isn't it? So that's important change in some segment of European or EU media behavior. And also, by the way, also Western media outlets and Russian media do pay attention what Western journalists are talking about, writing about, and I believe RIA Novosti did write today about ideas that are gaining foothold in Western society, partially in Western media, that U.S. intelligence services, especially CIA, are not really recognizing well enough level that neo-Nazis and extremists in Ukraine having influence on situation in Ukraine, and according to some Western media outlets, risk that only now some high-ranking officials in U.S. beginning to realize that if they will deliver long-range weapons to Zelensky's regime, if Zelensky himself will promise that they will not use these weapons on Russian soil, influence of extremists is so high that they will do it. They will not ask for permission. And that's why already now and in coming days and weeks, probably we will see more and more attention being paid by Western media to possibility that Western secret services, especially U.S. secret services, underestimated true influence, real influence of those extremists on developments, on situation in Ukraine, which is also once again does highlights how fragile that regime there is in Ukraine, and what kind of dangers these Western elites are creating by supplying weapons to basically to extremists and terrorists. But yet again, this topic is partially continuation of a previous one because it's already too late, I'm afraid. And those extremists already have on their hands plenty of weapons. Plenty of weapons. And by the way, I will stop here and I will continue with a few more news in some other part of the city. I will continue from this area, this update. This building is a National Museum of Republic, and before we return to Moscow, I do have a plan to go to this museum and make video footage there, if it's possible. As you can see, this area of the city is also quite popular among local residents and tourists, especially when it's nice weather. And by the way, by creating this video, I will try to not just make some extra content for channel, but also it will be interesting to me to see your reaction, because when I have some idea. I did share this idea with Patreon community that when we will go back to Moscow region, I have a plan idea to make additional channel which will be not about news and political commentary, but just about life, really. And it's interesting to me what you think about it. If you will find additional channel which will be devoted to life itself in Russia, how it is, and it will have, of course, vlog elements in it. And well, I will read with interest comments under this video. So if you will find interesting these types of content, then that will be great stimulus to create new channel, and then I will have one channel, Levan Gudadze Opinion, will be for news and political commentary, and other channel which may have a name like Informal Talks from Russia. That's working name. So that other channel will be about life in Russia, just everyday life. So hopefully you will find it interesting. But yet again, it all depends on reaction of our community on this idea. And well, I will try for the future to make this type of extra content at least once a week. So I will have better understanding what type of content will be interesting for you, so that I will keep that in mind for that other channel. And well, I think now which way to go. Let me show you Central Square here. It's administrative buildings around, and I will continue in some other part of the city. Then I did share quite a few news that are relevant in Russian media for this evening. And I do have one more very strange news from Sweden, from all the places, and very controversial news, because today Russian media outlets did write that Swedish police receive a request on three different type of actions, protest actions. One is one action did declare organizer that during this action Quran will be burned, which is a pure provocation in my understanding. Second request on by different people is also containing religious motives and also provocative, because in that request these Protestants want to burn Bible and Torah. And Swedish police has a third request, and they are waiting for permission, which is also about religious texts. And some other provocateurs want to burn some other religious texts. So I have a question: what is happening in Sweden? I mean, why, for God's sake, why all these provocations? I mean, it's insane. It's just insane. And even though I've been criticized for this position by some members of our community, I'm still staying on my principal view that it's not about rights and freedoms. It's about humanity, dignity, and principles to be respectful towards all the religions. I mean, do I have to? Why anyone should have to explain this very simple stuff? I don't get it. But yet again, Sweden is well, very special place, I guess, where for some people these simple ideas are not really understandable. I don't know. But yet again, by the way, you can see here administrative building of Republic, old Soviet era style building, which has been also renovated, and it does cool, looks kind of cool. It's okay. And this is, as you can see, quite a big square. And yet again, plenty of people. Plenty of people are. It's maybe not like in Times Squares, probably, but still. Let me show you that data. Plenty of people are in the central part of the city and enjoying their evening. So I guess this is it. I guess this is it for now. Hopefully you will find this video interesting. And if so, please hit that like button and leave some commentary, especially about this idea to create another additional channel, which will be about life in general in Russia, and with some elements of vlog. What do you think about it? Will it be interesting? So yes, this is it for now. Have a great day and take care. Thank you for your time and support.